Good evening and welcome to our program. I am Perla Carney, Artistic Director of the Dortort Center for Creativity in the Arts at UCLA Hillel. Tonight, we are honored to have as our guest Soraya Sarah Nazarian, who will share with us her fascinating life story as an Iranian Jewish immigrant, a renowned, highly creative artist, and an active, deeply committed philanthropist. Her daughters, Shula and Sharon Nazarian, accomplished women in their own right, have graciously agreed to participate in our program with their mom. Our moderator this evening will be Marla Burns, the Shirley and Ralph Shapiro Director of the Fowler Museum at UCLA. Before I turn the program over to our Executive Director, Rabbi Aaron Lerner, I'd like to thank our co-sponsors, the Fowler Museum at UCLA, as well as the Eunice and Soraya Nazarian Center for Israel Studies at UCLA. Thank you, Giselle Goldwater-Feldman, Director of Community Philanthropy at Hillel at UCLA, for providing us with your technical skills in running this Zoom program. A big thank you as well to Eitan Trebin, administrator of the Eunice and Soraya Nazarian Foundation, for his invaluable help with this program. And now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Executive Director of Hillel at UCLA, Rabbi Aaron Lerner.
And thank you so much to you, Perla, for everything that you do. I want to start tonight's program by extending words of appreciation to you, Soraya, to your family who's there with you, for the transformative impact you've had here at UCLA, in particular on Israel studies, which frankly is more important now in the current climate than ever. I will note and appreciate really the incredible time that you and your family have put into improving the campus climate here, improving the academics here, providing resources and the expertise that you have given so graciously over your time. I will also note that as I read your bio in a moment, there's a theme tonight throughout the program of travel and migration. It occurs in your life, the life story of your art, and living in different places and having different experiences. These things are not ever easy, but they're so important in our full development as human beings. And in this case, in your development as a creative artist. The voluntary and involuntary ways in which we are exposed beyond our bubbles open us up to greater understanding and creativity, and that is the primary challenge of our time. Honestly, as I watch students interact with each other in their echo chambers, created by economics, algorithms, and simply a desire to be comfortable with people who agree with them, I want to encourage them to live more the kind of life that you have lived and to get out there. Now is the moment. Hopefully we'll be vaccinated and it'll be safe to do so, but I want everyone to encourage, as you listen to Soraya tonight, and think about ways in which you can expand your universe as well. So Soraya, I'm going to introduce you, then I'll introduce Shulamit and Sharon, your daughters, in addition to Marla. Soraya Sarah Nazarian is an Iranian-born artist. She's a master in direct stone carving. Her work explores themes of motherhood, family, spirituality, and Iranian culture. You immigrated to the United States in 1979 with your family. Early in her career, she worked in multiple mediums, including drawing and clay. In the 1980s, Soraya began sculpting at American Jewish University, formerly the University of Judaism, and established her own studio soon after. Her work is distinguished by two major periods. The 1980s to the 1990s were a time of discovery and experimentation, while the 2000s are marked by the creation of large-scale sculptures. I've seen many in your house. Thank you for sharing them with me. Early experimentations show Soraya's depth in mastering the form and in creating abstract compositions out of stone. These early works often reflected her life experiences, a theme that reemerges throughout her career. Most of her works are based on strong familial connections and a commitment to humanistic values. In 2000, Soraya traveled to Pietrastanta Italy. If I traveled more, I probably would be able to say that better. A city made famous for its marble quarries by the Renaissance sculptor Michelangelo. The experience profoundly shaped her life, focused her technique, and enhanced her relationship with stone. Since her initial arrival, she has been one of the few women who have personally selected stone from the quarries. Soraya's work has been highlighted in various solo and group exhibitions. Strength Revealed was a 25-year retrospective of her work curated by Barbara Gilbert, curator emeritus of the Skirball Cultural Center and Museum in Los Angeles. Accompanying the show was a catalog titled Strength Revealed, the sculptures of Soraya Sarah Nazarian, including essays by Ruth Weisberg, Cynthia Burlingham, and an interview with Gloria Garris. Recent group exhibitions include My Heart is in the East, an official satellite show of the Fowler Museum's Light and Shadows at the Shulamit Nazarian Gallery in Venice, Sacred Words, Sacred Text at Hebrew University College, and 7.657-mile exhibition in conjunction with the Jerusalem Biennial at American Jewish University's Platt Gallery and here in Los Angeles and Jerusalem, Israel. Her work is held in numerous private collections. Cultural, education, and medical institutions in Israel and the US have commissioned several large-scale public art sculptures. Recent commissions include Sound at the Jerusalem Academy of Dance and Music in Jerusalem, Reflections at Sapir College in Sderot, Legacy at the University of Haifa, Identity at Saperstein Middle School in Los Angeles, Wings at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Israel Love Heals at Rambam Hospital in Haifa, Unbound at California State University Northridge, and Dancer at the Unison Soraya Nazarian Center for Performing Arts in Northridge. Soraya established the Soraya Sarah Nazarian Artists Initiative at the American Jewish University to provide emerging artists with studio and exhibition space here in Los Angeles. She lives and maintains a studio in Los Angeles, California. Now to her daughters. Shulamit Nazarian. For over 20 years, Shulamit has been an advocate for artists, art education, and the creative community in the United States and abroad. She immigrated to the United States with her parents and siblings from Iran. Shulamit studied architecture and worked as an architectural graphic designer before she began a successful career as a gallerist, opening the Shulamit Nazarian Gallery in 2012. The gallery features a diverse program of emerging and mid-career artists and has achieved international recognition for its groundbreaking approach. Sharon, as Senior Vice President of International Affairs, Sharon Nazarian heads up ADL's work fighting anti-Semitism and racial hatred globally, including in Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East, and though your bio doesn't say it, here at UCLA, and ADL's Israel office. She is also president of the Unison Soraya Nazarian Family Foundation and founder of the YNS Nazarian Center for Israel Studies at the University of California, right here at UCLA, and chairs its advisory board. Thank you for everything you do, Shulamit and Sharon. Marla, before we begin our program, I'm also going to introduce you and then hand it off. Marla C. Burns is the Shirley and Ralph Shapiro Director of the Fowler Museum at UCLA and has been in this position since 2001. She received her PhD in art history at UCLA, specializing in African art. Her publishing and curatorial work has concentrated on women's arts of northeastern Nigeria and encompasses ceramic sculpture, decorated gourds, programs of body scarification, and issues of gender and identity. Among the many projects she has overseen at the Fowler, the most recent was the 2018 to 2020 International Traveling Exhibition, Striking Iron, Art of African Blacksmiths, for which she was co-curator as well as co-editor and contributing author to the accompanying publication. In 2013, Burns received the Medal of Chevalier in the Order of Arts and Letters of the French Republic. I will work on my Italian and my French. I thank you all for joining us here tonight. Marla Burns.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Lerner. Thank you, my friends, Soraya, Sharon, and Shula. It's really my honor to be able to have this conversation with you about your work. And what we would like to do at the beginning is to show a wonderful brief video that gives you a visual appetizer of Soraya's work and life. And then we'll come back to have a more in-depth conversation about her work. So thank you, and take it away with the video, please.
Maybe 1 year, 2 years, just to think about what I want this project to be. Usually my sculpture has a message, and the message is very important. The hands offer the book. We are passing the knowledge generation to generation.
When you see statues, you do not have to talk. They express the message by themselves. We are lucky to have this beautiful piece. See the results.
Everybody comes for education, give them a chance to fly. The place that they install it, it was such a powerful place, and it goes to all the mountain of Jerusalem, and such an honor for me to have my piece over there. When I buy the stone, is oh my God. So then I start thinking and enjoying and smiling and scaring. A lot of time I'm scared a lot because the big piece is very scary, and I have to work very hard to bring it out. This was my original gloves that I made it bronze. Protect my hand to create more and work more with the stone and with the chisels. The color stone bring the sculpture out. They were commissioned me for in Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance, and they asked me to make one sculpture for them. When I'm working, the sound of the chipping, music inside of the art was there, coming out. Big communication. It has like life inside the stone. When you have strong roots, never any wind or any tornado gonna turn down these roots. And this is the power of the foundation. And also you see on the top is a bird. And this bird, with this foundation, you can fly everywhere. I tried to create art as a pomegranate. I was thinking this is a very good idea to continue this message of my husband.
To be human being, you have to be honest and you have to be trying to help others, not only yourself.
Inside of the stone, it looks like seeds of the stone. Family for me is not only me, only my children, community. And all of them coming from a good foundation to share with the others. each pieces that you see express me and tell me about who I am. You have to be patient, and everything has a price. If I lost my background in Iran, but we came to such a beautiful country that they give me a chance to be who I am now, and my children and my husband, and I'm very blessed. And every day I remember, every day I appreciate it, and I'm very lucky.
Thank you so much for sharing so much in that beautiful video. And when you see someone who's had such an extraordinary career and such talent expressed through your sculpture, I have to ask you the first question, which is the logical question, which is, what were you like as a child? And did you have art in your home? And how much did your upbringing in Iran help to form you as an artist?
From my childhood, always I wanted to create, and always I was since I was very young, I was trying to make something, and out of that, to create it, and my feeling about that. I was at school, I did a lot of different projects and different art until I get married, and then after that, I was always trying to educate myself, the different kind of the studio and different places to work and to learn more about art, and make my life better and enjoy more about the sharing and speak about art. That was my language of the conversation with others. My art was. And I remember I was worked very hard to showing that this is who I am, even in Iran. After revolution, after we came to Los Angeles, to United States, and after I established, we start learning and to be part of the, live here, and with my 4 children, with my husband, it was not easy to the same time to learn everything, but I tried to learn a lot about American life, about how I can learn more, how to help my children and also future of the family, because we had a very strong background, and we had a very deep Judaism and family oriented. But here I wanted to try to keep that past and background and establish my new path of my life. So I tried very hard. I went to college, and little by little, and also because my children, they went to school, I learned from their school. I learned from my children how to be part of this new community and new life in the United States.
Soraya, I'm going to put the slides on. I want to start showing the images as you're talking. Excuse me, we have to go through my... Okay. I think this is a wonderful photo. Do you want to say something about where you are and when this is in your journey from Iran to the United States?
Yes, this is in New York when my son David, he was graduate from the high school. And I think this is the beginning of our celebration, new life, and raising my children one by one to graduate, to go to university, and to be successful and for themselves find themselves the path of the life and to who they are. This is the beginning.
And tell us when you actually found time to start taking art classes and to begin this journey as a sculptor, and where you first went to school in Los Angeles, and how you came to this momentous decision to actually make stone your medium. And I'm going to put an early work on the screen.
I think when I find myself and my children, they were all of them, they established for their own path of the studying. So I said to myself, now this is my time that I have to go for my passion, for my things that I believe, and I wanted to find something that I can express myself with the world. So I went to different studio and I tried to learn. I did a lot of drawing. Also, I worked with the clay. That was very nice. You found basic things that I was supposed to learn and to start my new journey. But I wasn't happy yet. I was thinking that I need something different. I wanted to see. So I found out that American Jewish University, they have a different class art. And so when I went there for the clay class and also stone class, I said, no, this is what my future, this is stone. And I started from there, and I'm so blessed that such opportunity university gives to all the students and all the people they wanted to work with the art and stone, the best place, I think, in Los Angeles. And so that was start this part of the journey and part of my...
Mom, I remember when you made that sculpture, you were so proud of yourself because clearly the stone was your medium and you had this comfort level, even though it was a completely new technique, new strategy, you had this comfort level with it that you felt that you could easily bring something out of it that you could really speak to, and it represented your beginning of your path.
And I think we have to acknowledge that you didn't pick an easy medium. You know, you went straight to the hard stuff and picked something that was clearly very challenging. But I think the stone means something special to you because of its difficulty. And maybe you can speak to that and the process you go through to kind of elicit this meaning and ideas and stories out of the stone itself.
I think it's stone for me. First of all, it was very hard in the beginning. It's not easy to find it myself, find it in the stone. But I said, I'm very strong. I know what I wanted, and I'm doing that. So that was the reason. I think stone and me, we have a very good relation together. We can talk to each other. We can create together. I can each time when I'm chiseling, first I start with only chiseling. It was the sound of that and all the layer of the stone. I learned how to layer by layer bring it out, and by the end I find the art that I wanted to speak to me and to speak to my life and share with the others. That's happened to me. And each time, of course, I had to work very hard to spend time to working and to going to spend time days to the university, working very, very seriously and with a pleasure, with the honor. And that was the best part of my life when I did something only for myself. Of course, sharing with the family, and also my husband and my children supporting me a lot. But at the same time, I never give up. I never said this is hard. And every day I was more happy to more spend time and getting what I wanted to do.
And I remember in the video, it may have been in the context of this sculpture, but you talked about the work being scary. And I can imagine what it must feel like to have this, in this case, it's a very large piece of stone. But from that stone, you brought out this woman, this life of a woman. And I thought maybe you could speak to whether this whole process has a kind of metaphor for your own life and for the way that you've come out, in terms of being a special person and a sculptor.
Always, first of all, always I'm learning. And I don't know if I don't know, I don't want to tell something who I am, but my piece maybe they said. But I start for the big pieces like this. I start with making with the clay, a model clay. And of course, this is my third one or fourth one, the big scale of the sculpture. But the first one, it was very challenging to know exactly when I make a small model, clay model. So one is become few times much more bigger if all the scale is the same and become a beautiful and correct scale. So that was one of the very challenge for me. Each time, different learning, different challenging, and this one also, this piece especially shows that women.
I'll go back.
Women are very strong. I showed a very strong woman, very strong, and at the same time very soft. So to me, we don't need to be very shows the toughness and power, but we can see you are very strong, but at the same time you can be very soft. And this is the way she's trying to read a book for the children and also educate. Education comes from in the house, from the beginning of the childhood and beginning of the raising the family and raising the community, and education is so important for everybody.
I want to say one thing about Soraya, though, when you asked about fear, given the life change that she had, coming to this country with 4 children, really fear is something that does not deter her. So it's really not a surprise that she chose such a difficult medium to work in, because you, in fact, like challenges. And the way that you went through your life, with the revolution being one, you've had multiple difficulties in life, but it doesn't deter you. And in fact, it propels you to even work harder and to actually rise up to the challenge. So I think the stone as a medium was really, that's what you wanted. You wanted to challenge.
Exactly,
right?
Sure.
And so many, and maybe Shula can speak to this as well, but so many of your sculptures really are representations of women, and they're strong women. They're women emerging out of the stone, coming to life. And this piece is called Hidden Woman. And I don't know whether you want to say anything in particular about this work. And then there's another one I'm going to show afterward that's quite different. So would you like to comment on this particular sculpture of a woman, a hidden woman?
Yes, I believe that always women, they don't need to be in the front, because always they are supporting. They are strong there to whatever shows, and they rise and they educate everything. That was the reason I tried to show that the woman not supposed to be very.
You mean that you don't need to be necessarily in the front to be impactful. In fact, oftentimes you're much more powerful by being behind the scenes, but actually being the key player, the key role, which you have played in our family in many ways. One thing I wanted to point out in a lot of my mom's sculpture, what's really beautiful about, in my mind, is how she brings the idea of craft that she started with in the lines of her work, because she worked with fabric a lot. And you see that the movement of the stone that represents fabric and the cover of this woman being covered. And I always really enjoyed seeing how she can bring the work that she built on as a child, working with craft and working with fabric, then it reflects again now in the stone. And I was always really amazed with how you bring it out so beautifully. And this one definitely talks about that.
And I think one of the extraordinary things too about your work is that you don't repeat yourself. You know, every sculpture is new and different and shows you experimenting and pushing the materials and pushing the technique. And I'm particularly fond of this one as we see this figure emerging out of the stone. It reminds me of Michelangelo's late sculptures and that beautiful way that the sculpture seems to be alive. And maybe you could speak to this piece, which also is called Woman, you know, another piece in the same vein.
Sometimes when I was, for example, working on this piece, it's a pure white stone, but has a little bit line on the back. So I try to keep all this thing, all the impurity and purity of the woman, the stone, and also reflecting. When I was working, I was thinking for sure it's going to be woman, and so that was the women that rise, and they can also create many talent and challenge and support and create a better world for the future.
Oh, sorry. I love these two pictures of you, Soraya, in Pietrasanta. You're full of joy. There was also a moment in the video when you talked about being there in the stone and being in the quarry. You can just see that you feel at one with this landscape. And I think knowing that, of course, this is where marble and stone came from sculptors over many centuries, there's a kind of ancient wisdom to the stone. There's this powerful geologic history. It's like encompassing all of history and humanity. And can you speak a little bit to what it felt like when you first went to Pietrasanta and you encountered this opportunity to actually pick your own stone from the quarry?
I think to pick the stone and go to the quarry, it was my third time that I was in Pietrasanta, because I was purchasing from the yard stone and buy the big pieces and buy, but I wanted to build a special stone for the tree that I have, a big tree. So I decided with the managing owner of the studio that he was a very professional and lot of the expertise and knowledge about this good stone. And because I didn't know what is a good stone, such a big one, such a 14 ton of the stone when I choose it. So we went together to the quarry. Of course, the people in the quarry, they don't like women goes there. they were thinking that this is only for men, not for women. So by the way, I was very proud of myself that oh, I can come to the quarry and choose the one I wanted to have. It doesn't matter if they're happy or not happy. That was, I didn't care about them. I was care about myself, who I am and what I am doing now. I worked very hard. I was working every day from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, non-stop, every day when I was there. But that was give me that power and give me confidence that you have to go better, to be better. You have to learn more. So that day was one of the days that I was very, very happy and proud of myself, and they find out also the man from the studio, owner of the studio, he teach me and we find the right stone without inside damage, because some of them they have that, even the same quarry, each part of the quarry has a different quality and purity. So we find it after we find many stones, but after all of them, I myself found this piece and started with such a
Mom,
good
but
one.
you should tell Marla also about what Pietrasanta meant to you in your journey of becoming an artist. Going there once a year for a month, what did it mean to you?
And this is you and Pietrasanta working in your studio too.
On the right.
Yes.
This is the stone I bought it for this
quarry.
and the quarry. Yes, it was 14 tons when I started.
Wow.
You know, I think when I was in Los Angeles, always my teacher was telling me, Soraya, you have to go. You are very complete now. You have to go to different level. You have to go to different level. You can do it. You can do it. You have a confidence. Don't worry about it. You can go. So I find out the group that they take to the Pietrasanta from different part of the world, and we get a part of the studio and work together with a different kind of the artigiani and with a person that is taking care of us. So first time in my life I did, and of course my Sharon was helping me a lot to all the application and all these things. We did it. She was pushing me, mom, don't worry, you can go. So I did it, and I remember when I went to the Pietrasanta, and after long story short, with my experience, past experience, and then I become that area. I wanted to be same as the other artists, that some of them, they don't have money, they have money, or I don't know, just I wanted to be same as them. So one day I was sitting in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon, after maybe 1 week, maybe, I said to myself, oh, this is who I am. And I find myself for the first time, I did something just for myself. I did something that the best things that may be coming to my life. So that was beginning of this part of the
journey.
Yes.
Journey. Always I was independent, but different way.
But this was all about you.
This was only about me, and all the things that I did for the stone and my art.
It felt like sending our mother to
Summer camp.
Summer camp.
University, because she was nervous and excited, and for the first time traveling purely by herself.
But this traveling is not the same as always.
Yeah, she was away for a month each
No,
time.
that's you have to go to the different city until I get to the Pietrasanta. This is not long one, and different airport, different line. Everything was different. Very, very,
difficult.
Everything not difficult, but everything new for me. Everything was new for me. But
And look what you've accomplished. I mean, if you look at that huge piece of stone, and then from it, you've created this marvelous work, which is such a metaphor for your own life. I mean, it's all about the roots that bind you to the earth and are at the foundation of your life, your Persian roots, your Jewish roots, your family ties. And, maybe you can speak a little bit to this particular sculpture, because I think it's so beautiful in so many ways, and what it reflects about you and your talent to sort of tease that out of the stone itself.
So in the beginning, I told you, this is the roots. This tree has such a strong roots, very, very strong. You can see it. And that was
It's a metaphor. That's a
But
metaphor.
also,
for
you said
life.
also it reflects
It is a metaphor, yes.
it's a woman bodies, and also when you have a good education, good foundation, good orient life, that you never was supposed to forget your past. You have to know who you are from, and you have to teach also to everybody that we have to protect and support our background and our past. We have a chance to go forward. So that was the reason. I think this is the reason. On the top is a bird. So with all these things, we can fly and can go.
create new horizons.
And also, you can share the to be strong, to be who you are, and never forget where
you came from.
Where are you coming from? As a religion, as a Jewish Iranian, and as a woman, and how we started and how I am now. This is all the steps is together is connected.
And I actually love the way this other sculpture, where I think you can see my cursor, is in the background of this image, and it relates so beautifully. I'm going to bring it up on the screen, and maybe Shula, you want to talk about this particular work?
Right. I think it's maybe another version of a tree.
This
right? Yeah, but then it talks about the 3 generations. On the top, which you cannot see in this picture, are the 4 children, my mom's children, my siblings, and I. And on the bottom are all the grandchildren. And it was a great decision, or it was an interesting decision, that my mom placed herself and my father amongst the grandchildren. And for me, it felt like you speak to the future through putting yourself amongst the younger generation. Your perspective and your language and your work is about how you connect, not just for the past, but also how you see yourself in the future. And I thought that was a very wonderful decision-making while she was creating this sculpture.
Yes. I wanted to bring this view of the exhibition from 2011 called Strength Revealed, 25 Years of the Art of Soraya Sarah Nazarian, which was held at Gallery 817 here in Los Angeles. And I chose it because it really demonstrates so vividly the differences in the stone that you've chosen, that again, there's not just one kind of stone that attracts you, but rather look at the variety of color and shapes and forms. And I think perhaps you can speak a little bit to this in this view of your sculpture.
I think I like different color, and when I go to the stone yard, I try to find a different color that for me like a painting. When you have only white, of course with a different texture you can create it, you can express, but different color looks like a different painting. And that was the reason I try to bring the different, work with a different stone, and there are also different challenge and talent to carving and to find it a better way to create it, to bring it out. And I have a Jerusalem the yellow piece is a Jerusalem of stone, and that's a very beautiful stone that I bought it in Italy also. And also in the back is a red one. This is a Persian travel tin that, of course, in Italy, they call this Rose Soraya. And yes,
That's a good one.
yes, and also in the back, the pink one has a Rose Portugal. That's also another color, beautiful stone, and it's come from a quarry in the Portugal. Very, very clean and very nice. And inside is we can work and we can bring it out very clean piece of art. So yeah. I have a basalt, the moon and sun and moon. That's another thing that I really love it. The way I created and working on it. It's very difficult stone, very rough and tough stone. But that was another challenge to learn and to work on it. And every minute that I was working, that was enjoyable. And even though it was hard, but I didn't care, and I was pushed. Yeah, I was enjoying that.
I think that's so admirable about you and your practice, that you're always pushing yourself and pushing the limits and testing and learning. It doesn't, not all artists do that. Some artists just hit their stride and they keep making the same thing over and over again, but we're not seeing that with you. So this is wonderful. I wanted also to show these three because, of course, they represent the same kind of object, but maybe you can talk about how differently you've rendered each example in these three.
On the left side, this is I wanted to me, when they found out for Hanukkah, it was not very clean and put it together. That was organic piece of, it's a piece of the bottle of the oil, jar of the oil, and they become for 8-9 days. So I try to bring it from the stone only natural, and I work only by hand. I didn't put any machine or any power tool, just I did it by hand. In the middle is a Japanese alabaster, and Japanese alabaster outside is very dirty, very, very. You cannot see that how beautiful inside, white and clear. So for me, this is a miracle. This is a nurse, and I never put the same size or anything together. I try to be more natural and more organic, the way Hanukkah is supposed to be. Because some of them, many people, they think, no, this is, I have to put this one, that one. For me, from the Judaism and my background and the way I'm thinking about all the holiday, and I'm passing this beautiful tradition to the future and to the next generation, even in the world. This is, I wanted to be naturally give them and without any restriction. This is what it is, and this is beautiful, beautiful piece of art as a Hanukkah.
I think you, in other words, you're respecting the natural ingredients or the natural movements of the stone, rather than trying to impose it to be a specific way that we've learned to be, but rather respecting the natural movements of the stone and the qualities.
You always also say that, for you, your Judaism represents celebration. And I think these pieces, both the menorahs and the Hanukkahs, you have so many all represent kind of your view of celebrating life and celebrating our tradition and where we come from.
Absolutely. I believe it, and I really try to keep it. I work very hard to always, since I was very young. I went to the Jewish school in Iran, and I was always thinking that the best education that I learned from my childhood was who I am. And I never wanted to forget about who I am. And I want to tell to everybody in generation who they are, and celebration is so in our Judaism, celebration is the most beautiful part of the religion. So with this, I want to pass it to the future.
I wanted to bring a few sculptures in to talk about more specifically because they really speak to the nature of the material and the difficulty of working it. And I don't know, Shula, if you wanted to start off speaking a little bit to the process and the difficulty of working this this particular stone, this basalt sculpture.
But of course, whatever I'm going to say is what I've learned through my mom's experiencing with different stones, but specifically this one, I know that it's one of the most difficult stones to work with. It's pretty dense, and it has a very tough quality. Like my mom said, you know, she never shies away from challenging stones or challenging situations. And I believe that, you know, this represented again a reference to nature through sun and the moon. And she beautifully used both sides of the stone to represent the sun and the moon and the base in different perspectives. And generally my mom's sculptures are also always beautifully viewed from all different directions. And this one is another one.
Yes.
And I remember my mom visiting the Gucci studio or the exhibition, really wonderfully was excited that she felt some of her work there's some similarities that Noguchi used in his techniques, and how she also innately used similar techniques in her work that reference his work. And I feel it's absolutely true. And this one is definitely an example of that.
And then I find this piece very striking, this sort of radical contrast between the smooth and the chiseled. And again, it's a figure of a woman, a female torso. So maybe you want to say a little bit about this piece, Soraya.
Also, as you see, this is a woman, but because this was such a pure stone and beautiful quality of the stone, so I tried to, it didn't have any skin of the mountain. It was very clean and everything was very, already the piece of stone was, everywhere was clean. So I start to bring it out I bring out the woman from the stone. And then with all the different kind of the texture, I created and I give it the movement and the quality, and to shows that I liked all the way that I carved and bring the different techniques, and the most important, all the texture that stone I was play to bring it out with the texture.
Beautiful piece.
Thank you.
And as you see, Marla, these two examples are great examples that my mom can really work very directly with figuration and abstraction, so closely and yet differently, but also in such an expert ways. And it's always, for me, it's been intriguing to see how she can go back and forth between the two you know, techniques
Yes.
or ways so smoothly. And these are the two people you kind of put side by side.
And also how the sculpture reads so differently from different angles, that you see different things as you move around the piece. So there's a lot of thought that has to go into the working out of what you're going to do, because as we've been saying, if you're working stone, you can't make a mistake. You have to know exactly what you're going to do before you do it.
There's a
So
lot of complexity to this. Yeah.
yes, a lot of complexity. So we're going to shift a little bit, because I wanted people to know that you've also worked in bronze, and you've also, we just looked at a piece that was very much based on abstraction, and these are very realistic portraits of people who are very important in your life. And maybe you'd like to say a little bit about these two sculptures.
The left side is my husband's portrait that I think somehow I should always appreciate his support and understanding, and it led me to be who I am now with his support. And so that was, I did it to appreciate his love and supporting me. And then on the right side is my mother-in-law that when I was married, she was, we were together, lived together. And
Married at 16, by the way. She was very young.
Oh my goodness.
And she was teaching me a lot. I learned a lot from her. And she was one of the strongest women, and brave, and she never scared of anything. She went through a lot of difficulty in her life and raised the two beautiful children. And she was one of the most important person, that
Role model
for me, that she did it. And I'm trying to always honoring her and remember her, and always I'm talking about her very, very supportive and highly, because she deserves to remember my children and my family and the work that a lady from such a difficult background, she's a role model for many, many other new generation and the future generation of the women.
Well, I think you've honored her beautifully in this portrait. She's very strong, and you can feel that strength in the representation that you've done.
And Marla, my mom and father both honored Ima by naming our foundation in Israel the Ima Foundation. Everybody called Ima. Her name is Gol Bahar Avivash, but she was Ima to all of us, and actually to the whole community. Everybody knew her as Ima. And so her legacy is now the foundation that we have in Israel. It's called the Ima Foundation.
That's wonderful. And that's perfect, Sharon, because now we're going to segue into talking a bit about the incredible philanthropic work that your parents have done and the foundation has done. And perhaps you want to say a little bit about the foundation and its priorities and its values.
Happy to. My father, you heard him say in the video that both my parents feel so blessed by the opportunity to come to America and to restart their lives, build from scratch, and achieve the success that they've achieved. And a very big part of their DNA and their identity has always been notion of giving back. So about 20 years ago, my parents decided to establish a family foundation. Before that, they had already been very generous, especially in Israel, because Israel has played such an important role to our family and to my father as an adolescent. And even since they've been married, they got married, they spent a lot of time in Israel. It was always definitely our spiritual home. So the foundation represented really the vision of my parents and the way they wanted to give back. And primarily we have focused on education. Education has been probably the most important area of our giving. in the US and in Israel. Second pillar is definitely been arts and culture. And my mom's belief that the arts are a very important catalyst for changing society, for changing and bringing people together and healing. And the rest of our giving also has centered around our Jewish identity, our Iranian identity, some medical causes, and music, obviously. So music and arts really fall under the second pillar. And so for 20 years, the medical, so we've done some medical gifts here in Los Angeles and in Israel. About 50% of our giving is here in Los Angeles and around California, and 50% is focused in Israel and our giving there. A big part of our educational work in Israel has been centered on libraries. So we've named many libraries in the name of my parents, again, building on the theme of education you've heard my mom touch on. And at UCLA, as you heard Rabbi Lerner also talk about, our Center for Israel Studies. So my parents' vision is very clear. And for me, it's been really a joy and pleasure to build this with my siblings and to really implement their vision into our lives here in Los Angeles and in Israel. This is a wonderful picture of from our 5th anniversary of our Nazarian Center for Israel Studies at UCLA, where we honored Amos Oz of blessed memory. And we gave him the UCLA Israel Studies Prize. And you see me holding the award, which is given for that prize. Amos was the 3rd recipient, but that sculpture in my hand is a work of Soraya's, again, referencing roots and the tree of knowledge. And so that was a lovely evening on the left. And on the right was our 4th recipient, which was in 2020 when President Reuven Rivlin came to Los Angeles. We honored him at UCLA with Chancellor Block and Professor Dov Waxman, who's the director of our center. And he also received the same award from the Nazarian Center and the same sculpture from my mom. So really having an artist in the family is lovely, because so much of her gift has also really benefited our gift giving through our philanthropy. And my mom's just made a beautiful decision that as we've gone around the world and given the way we have, her art has become a very important part of our foundation's gifts. So this piece that you have now, Legacy, and I want Soraya to talk about it a little bit, was a gift that we gave when we named the Central Library of University of Haifa, which is the largest library in Israel, largest academic library. It also came with this beautiful boat that Soraya should talk about.
Yes.
We started to create this one art for this university. So I wanted to relate it, the people from after the Second World, nobody except any Jewish people as a refugee to the country. So they were very hard to come to the port of the Haifa, to the port of the Haifa. And all of them, they bring a lot of knowledge, a lot of education from their background and from the home to Israel and to Haifa. And because of them, they built a beautiful university, Haifa University. So I connected the boat and the port and human to university. So each book represents the story of one of the people that they had a difficult, nobody accept them, but they were such a knowledge, and they can find the family or somebody find the story of their life in one of the books. And this boat also bring them to such a new land.
And it's called Legacy.
Yes, Legacy.
Beautiful name.
So this is from this is a story that I think the day when we were unveiled this piece, many people over there, they were so impressed with this art, and some of them touched, and some of them really was crying to see how is this.
And this is you, of course, in Pietrasanta. carving this piece. And
Yeah.
uh,
Yes, for this piece, I went few times, spent a couple of months to make it. Yes.
very ambitious, really ambitious. Okay. And this is another piece that you gave to Haifa, to this children's hospital. Perhaps you want to speak to this, because I think you really enjoy the fact that the kids can actually play on the sculpture as opposed to seeing it from afar.
You know, one day I was visiting this hospital, children's hospital. Inside the hospital, I saw the children, they're so sick and they have no anything to make them happy, or they bring them, the nurses, the doctors, the mother, all of them, they were so caring and helping, but they were so sick and they didn't have anything to make them happy. And so I decided to make something that they can touch and they can play, and nobody said don't touch, just heal. The name of the sculpture is a Touch Me.
Actually, no, it's Love Heals.
Love Heals, yes, and also Love Heals and also Touch Me. So
We have a sign on there that says "Touch Me." Actually,
yes, yes.
That's great.
So this woman can be nurse, can be a doctor, can be a mother, and the children hugging him, and she hold them, and she wanted to give them, heal them, and also a lot of birds. I know that children, they love to have a bird and to play with the bird. So in the park, usually children
running after
the bird. So I said this is good things that they can play. So I asked them, bring them when it's sun, the weather is good, to come and play with the sculpture and touch them and enjoy them. That was the reason I made it.
It's wonderful. It's got a lot of charm and playfulness, so it's wonderful. And then there's another, I'm assuming this was a gift to Hebrew University in Jerusalem, and it's
yes,
based on this idea of taking flight and, you know, the freedom that's associated with education. And maybe you want to say a little bit more about this piece. It's really beautiful.
maybe I'll say why the location is so important. The building that you see in the background is a building specifically dedicated to the pre-academic year. You know that Israeli universities, as a way of kind of equalizing students who come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, offer a year of study at universities for students who come from weaker academic backgrounds, to prepare them to take the exams and then enter the university. So this building is really dedicated to students from all over Israel, especially in the periphery, as you call it in Israel, from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And we named the library in there. So again, in the same path of gifting to an institution, Soraya was really inspired by the students. If you look at Israel today, many of the top leadership, not only in government, not only in the IDF, in the corporate sector, many are graduates of this pre-academic program that really lifts up and equalizes students. It's a program that I haven't seen in the US, and I think it's a real success story in Israel. And I think this really inspired you, Mom.
Yes, that was the reason. Yeah. I was thinking that education give you power to fly and to reach whatever you wanted to have. And that's the base is the stone is very rough. That shows that it's not easy to get to that level. It's very hard, but the top has a with the texture and with the softness, and the movement shows that we can reach, fly, but with education.
And I remember the day we unveiled this piece, Marla. It was such a special day because it was a lot of engineering and making sure that the sculpture could sit on a very important beam so it could hold it. And so there was a lot of calculation and going back and forth. And the piece was covered. And this was not the formal unveiling. It was just the installation day. And the piece was covered. And at the end, when it was all done, Mom pulled the cover off, and there were students around who just started clapping. And these were all students from the pre-academic, and it was just such a lovely, and they thanked her and they said, oh, we needed something beautiful here. And it was such a beautiful day of just a natural organic reaction to the piece. It was really one of my most beautiful memories of your unveilings.
Yes, I have all the video of that day.
And I love how she always implements this chipped stone that
bottom.
surrounds the base of the sculpture. In a way, it's kind of like the stone is coming literally out of the ground and emerging.
And the place that they install and the piece is there is unbelievable place that I'm honored to have my piece over there. It's on top of the hill, and they can see all the Jerusalem. And big artists, a very big artist around this my sculpture, but this is on top of everything. And this is
You're ever at the campus of Hebrew University. It's definitely worth a visit.
It's a great garden there.
Yes.
Like
They have
UCLA.
They have a great one, but they were so impressed, and I am so proud to have such a working so hard and sharing with the students. I like to share with them, and I get the best feedback, and they're so kind to me, all these students, that I can share to them and tell them that if you are working very hard, but you become soft, you can be whatever you wanted. You can reach whatever you wanted.
And I didn't want to leave out of this presentation your commitment to music and your engagement with the beauty of music and sound and community. And I know you mentioned in the video the sound of the chipping as you make sculpture. And I remember when we did the Striking Iron exhibition that the sound of the blacksmith hammering became a metaphor for the heartbeat, that you could see that. So sound is such an important aspect of the working process and the enjoyment that people have. So maybe you want to speak to that and your involvement with music.
I think this piece, I remember those days, it was such a hot day, and I was working, and all the chips go to my face. And when I was cleaning my face, it was all scratched my face and my hand. Oh, I had such a tough days and hard days, but at the same time, when I was chipping, has such a beautiful sound. I said, okay, this is Philharmonic Orchestra. I don't need it. I don't need anything else, because the sounds come, because the stone was such a good stone and such a clean stone, not any damage inside the stone. So as one stone is very clean, the sound is much better. And when we want to buy a stone, small pieces, not such a big one, or the top to the stone, and if they had a good sound, it means that inside is good. They're small pieces. But this one, I just bought it the piece, but thank God I had to enjoy it. A tough day, hot day, very difficult day, but the result was what I wanted, and the music gave me to work harder and finish it.
And I have to add that, the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance is probably the love of my father. Of all the institutions, this was the first institution that we really committed to. We named the building. My father was the chair of the board for a number of years. So I think, Soraya, you're so inspired by the institutions that you invest in, and it really comes through in her work. So it's not just a standalone piece. It's a piece that goes with everything that comes from her heart and all the devotion and commitment that she has to the institution for what it does, teaching students of music and dance, again, in Jerusalem, lifting up students, enabling them to really find their own passion. And so it really goes together. You have to understand the philanthropy and the artistry really work hand in hand, and it inspires her in that way, right?
But it also reflects a lot to my mom's childhood, just a little connection that both my grandparents, my mom's parents, were musicians. They loved the violin, and my grandfather was my grandmother's violin teacher. So that's how their love started. And I think so there's a real connection for my mom with the instrument, especially the string instrument. And I think this was another like a acknowledgement to your roots and your background and your history and your growing up. And it's really a connection from that moment to the past and to the future.
And the most important part that when I donated one of my pieces that I worked so hard and I keep donated, this is become a place that this is the home for my pieces. They find the right home for my right pieces. I made it for the best home to always appreciate and caring, and this is makes me stronger to.
You can be sure she will not give a piece to a home where she doesn't think is the right fit. She's very picky and selective, gets her pieces. So she has turned down people who says, no, doesn't, the energy does not feel right. So
that's great.
Well, I'm very happy to for this.
Very selective.
And speaking of music, I wanted to make sure that we brought in this picture of the Unison Soraya Nazarian Center for the Performing Arts at Cal State University Northridge, which wonderfully is called for short the Soraya. And here's Unison and Soraya happily taking the stage. Maybe this is the only time you took the stage in that theater, but you know, why not, right?
Yes.
And I want to end our slide presentation with also, as you said, Sharon, there's the philanthropy that went to support the theater and the performances and the wonderful programming that they're doing, but also the university is graced with this particular sculpture, which I know has a lot of meaning for you and your family, for all of you. So perhaps you want to speak to this one, Soraya or Shula or Sharon.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll just speak about the gift itself. Naming the Performing Arts Center this is the largest gift we've given in the history of our foundation. And it was a gift that really reflected who we are as a family. Cal State Northridge plays an important role in our family. My older brother is a graduate and alumni. But more than that had to do with the makeup and the identity of Cal State Northridge. Made up my family's majority who are immigrants, majority who come to this country looking for a better life. And really the heart and soul of California. They go on, many of the graduates of Cal State Northridge to become the middle class, working class, and the backbone.
Many people, the first time their family, they have one student.
First students and families to go to university. So the university really spoke to us as a family. And then this piece, I'll let Shula or my mom talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was very proud to hear my mom's thoughts about creating the sculpture was about bringing different kind of stones in one sculpture that in a way represents the student body, of the diversity of the student body and the vastness of it, that they all kind of come together. And on top of it, it's all about education, but it's all about community of people from around the world that connect through education. And I thought it was a really beautiful symbolism through her work. And again, going back to the beginning of when she talked for this specific call, is that her sculptures had all symbolism of meaning and referencing what she was trying to portray through them. And this is a good example of it.
Wonderful. I'm sorry, Soraya, I think you want to say something. I don't want to cut you off.
No. That's very nice.
Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation that took so many different directions. I think we have a little bit of time to see if we have a few questions from this wonderful audience that's listened into the conversation.
You know what, Marla, we've actually hit our time limit. So
we have, okay.
so
thank you if you had questions, but I hope we answered them for you.
We did in the chat. We got most of them actually covered in the chat.
Great.
Right.
And I just want to say what an honor it's been for me to have this conversation with you. I admire you all so much, and I'm so happy to be a part of your lives, and I look forward to more. And thank you just for your support of so many important causes, for your support of the arts and education, and so much in our community here in Los Angeles and in Israel. And it is an honor to be with you and to just celebrate all of you, and to thank Hillel also for sponsoring this wonderful program, to thank Perla and Giselle and Rabbi Lerner. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marla.
Thank you very much, Marla. And I'm very happy to have a chance to share my art with the others and the community, and a big support of my two beautiful daughters.
And thanks to Perla for putting this together, Perla. We really
Perla,
appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. Yes,
Thank you. And have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you
Bye.
all.
Well, thank you for being with us this evening and for this insightful look into the life and work of a remarkable, unique woman, Soraya Sarah Nazarian, who through her great artistry has captured the spirit, the strength, and the universality of women around the world. She leaves a lasting legacy for future generations to be inspired by her life choices, as well as her extraordinary works of art. Thank you, Shula and Sharon, for contributing greatly to the telling of your mother's story in the most loving, respectful way. Lastly, I want to thank Marla Burns for her sensitive, intelligent questioning, which gave us a rare glimpse into the very private world of Soraya Sarah Nazarian. Good night and stay safe. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.